The Chinese Air Force's Falcon 1 conducted out-of-lock-throttle on U.S. electronic surveillance planes for the first time on July 2, 2021 in the early morning over the northern Taiwan Strait, surprising the U.S. military and the Western world with one fell swoop. All material from the U.S. military and international media is quoted here in order to maintain confidentiality and accurately explain the situation. The TBS television station in Japan announced an unexpected emergency interruption on July 3, early in the morning. An RC-135U electronic reconnaissance plane of the United States Air Force took out from Kadena Base in Okinawa, Japan, early yesterday, 2nd, for a routine approach to the southeast coast of China. Reconnaissance. 3 Chinese Air Force electronic counter-reconnaissance aircraft Falcon 1 were intercepted and rounded up before daybreak near the north gate of the Taiwan Strait, in airspace less than 55 nautical miles from Fujianchapu Air Force Base in the eastern theater of China. The Chinese Air Force first used this anti-reconnaissance electronic countermeasure weapon in the battle, and it is regarded to be the most mysterious anti-reconnaissance weapon. The two countries' air forces then staged a violent electronic reconnaissance and confrontation in the Taiwan Strait with high-altitude calcium carbide flares. According to a Japanese media follow-up report, the situation was critical. Under the pursuit and interception of the Chinese Air Force's Falcon 1, the U.S. Air Force's RC-135U reconnaissance plane staged a very genuine aerial cat-and-mouse game. The RC-135U reconnaissance plane was repeatedly thwarted. All of the aircraft's reconnaissance equipment failed, the plane couldn't be controlled and went out of control numerous times, the navigation system collapsed several times. If the Taiwan Strait truly does something, the Japanese media cried, the U.S. military's RC-135U reconnaissance plane has only two options: be captured by force or fall into the sea out of control. In this regard, our South China Sea Strategic Situational Awareness think tank's only official source stated, a U.S. Air Force RC-135U electronic surveillance plane took out from Kadena Base in Okinawa, Japan, and surreptitiously infiltrated our Fujianchapu Air Force in the early morning of July 2. Our Air Force jets quickly and decisively repelled electronic reconnaissance in the East China Sea airspace near the base. I officially mentioned nothing about what type of fighter jets the People's Liberation Army dispatched to eject them. At the same time, China's official media has kept a low profile, reporting only a few instances of U.S. military RC-135U reconnaissance aircraft invading the airspace of the Air Defense Identification Zone near Fujian's military-sensitive area. However, this drew a strong response from the international press. It has been covered by media in Japan, the United States, South Korea, France, and Germany in Europe. The Chinese Air Force's mystery anti-electronic reconnaissance aircraft Falcon 1 was dispatched for the first time, and the sword was fired for the first time, severely frustrating the most advanced U.S. military RC-135U surveillance aircraft and eliciting exclamations from the Western media. The U.S. military's Global Air Defense Communications Platform claimed this morning, 3rd, the RC-135U is the most advanced reconnaissance aircraft currently in service in the United States military. It's known as Combat Dispatch for its ability to conduct electronic intelligence reconnaissance. The most powerful tool for strategic reconnaissance and air superiority, as well as a housekeeper. However, when confronted with China's Falcon 1 yesterday, it was suddenly fully electronically suppressed, and the entire aircraft was completely out of control, but the Kadena Base camp, which was close by, was completely unaware of this. Major Rodriguez, a spokesman for the U.S. military at Kadena Base, grudgingly told the media on the evening of the 2nd, "We had little awareness of China's Falcon 1 before. In the face of China's most modern weapons, our intelligence service proved to be deafeningly definite immediately realized its existence this time when it soared in front of us. Even the moniker Falcon 1 is a joke," he continued. Our intelligence department uncovered it at a wonderful price. We know virtually little about its precise aviation technical knowledge. During the briefing, Major Rodriguez stated, "We only found out what happened yesterday morning," according to the pilot of the RC-135U reconnaissance aircraft's specific introduction. As is customary, our RC-135U reconnaissance aircraft took out in the early hours of the morning from Kadena Base for routine electronic surveillance missions over the high seas near Chapu Air Force Base in Fujian, China. Their primary purpose on this expedition is to detect the Chinese Army's deployment and weapons in the coastal areas of Fujian and Zhejiang, collecting the frequency of its electronic communication signals, equipment deployment and fighting performance, and so on. Our RC-135U reconnaissance aircraft arrived in established airspace after roughly an hour of flight and was set to conduct reconnaissance duties. At this point, The pilot noticed three moving airborne objects coming from the top, front, and back directions with his naked eyes. Outsmarted. What's astonishing is that, despite the arrival of such a serious air attack, the RC-135U reconnaissance aircraft's own anti-electronic jamming equipment and reconnaissance system, there is no response. When that happens, it's too late. The reconnaissance equipment has failed, the communication system has failed, and the aircraft has lost control of its navigation because the opposing party has surrounded and locked the RC-135U group. It's as though you're being strangled by your throat. In the next flight, there will be another issue of this nature. The meeting was repeated 3 times and was staged in real time. Desperately, we followed international norms and repeatedly conveyed goodwill to Chinese military aircraft before the other party finally agreed to let our planes fly out of the risky zone. Finally, Major Rodriguez emphasized, "I have the impression that we are mice being tickled in the air by the opposite side." At the same time, it demonstrates how terrifying the Chinese Air Force's Falcon 1 is. We were completely defeated from the air. Since World War II, the U.S. Air Force has faced an extraordinarily unusual disgrace and humiliation. Major Rodriguez's briefing soon traveled to numerous media outlets throughout the world, eliciting exclamations and shock from the international public. According to the South Korean web client Seoul Arms, today, China's weaponry and equipment, like its national might, have advanced rapidly in the last 20 years. The secret weapon Falcon 1 has been exposed, especially this time. The Chinese military will almost definitely have a large number of such weapons. According to what we know, the Chinese Air Force Falcon 1 is on its way to South Korea, the South Korean intelligence service said today, the latest and most advanced anti-electronic reconnaissance aircraft in the world. Its primary mission is to oppose the United States military's regular electronic reconnaissance along China's coast, in Taiwanese waters, and in the South China Sea. It can also let U.S. military aircraft to enter blind zones, and all radars and navigation systems are disrupted, in addition to electronic countermeasures.